Happy New Year, BC Boom family. It's Gerlisa here, and I hope that you had a great holiday break and you are excited about all that 2023 has to offer. In this season, we are talking about wisdom. Wisdom is that thing that you need because you don't know everything. But luckily, we have the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit guides us into all wisdom, and it gives us insight about things that we didn't know that we needed. Of course, along with the Bible, who gives us instruction, wisdom is that thing that wants us to be great and to flourish in our finances and to flourish in our relationships and to flourish in our emotional health. As our ministry partners goes deep into this topic, I pray that you take notes and really embrace the idea that wisdom is what you need because you do not know everything. Stay tuned.
What would you do if you were the smartest person alive? Not just the straight A's type of smart, but we're talking like you actually have a superpower type smart. Now let me tell you about someone who had this kind of brain power. Chances are you've probably never heard of the person who some have suggested is the smartest person to have ever lived. Nope, it's not Albert Einstein or me. In fact, this guy's IQ, or intelligence quotient, is estimated to be nearly 2 times Einstein's, which is about 160. So this guy's IQ is literally 300. He could read you the New York Times by the time he was 1.5. He attended Harvard at age 11, and he was ultimately fluent in about 25 different languages. His name was William James Sidis, and shockingly, his story is actually quite tragic. He was arrested at 21 for his wild behavior at a political event. He lived under various fake names because he had a hard time connecting with other people, and he died young from health complications. So to say the least, just because he had a ton of brain power didn't mean he was able to easily walk through life. When we hear stories like his, we have to ask, how can you know so much and still not be successful in every way? In this imaginary, perfectly smart version of you, shouldn't you be able to know what makes you happy, what to do next in that relationship, how to fix your family, calm your mind, or go pro in just about anything? And the real question, why doesn't being smart fix everything? See, with almost every problem that we face in life, or every negative feeling that we experience, we often think that if we could just know what to do, we would do it. But there's one thing that separates the pros from the amateurs. The people who experience real peace, who live great stories, who lean into their most important relationships have developed the one thing that makes you better at everything. It's the thing that stands in the gap between what you know and what you do with what you know. How to apply what you know, when, where, and why to apply what you know. And no, this isn't a clickbait advertisement or a new Tom Brady protein shake. This is the real deal. See, what has to develop for all of us is not our IQ, but our WQ. I maybe just made that term up, but just go with me for a second. See, if our IQ is a measure of our raw brain power, which there's nothing wrong with, it's just a little overrated, then let's let WQ stand for our wisdom quotient, or how much wisdom you have. See, knowing a lot of things is cool and all, but is it helpful if you don't do anything with what you know? If your life doesn't get any better, or if you don't make other people's lives better? Let me show you what I'm talking about. So let's say that this coin represents what we're talking about. And let's say that one side is IQ and on the other side is WQ, or wisdom. Sometimes there are 2 sides to consider when we make decisions. For example, let's say that your friend is saying something sarcastic or taking a light jab at you. You may have plenty of IQ to come back with a clever or witty or even hurtful response. But if you flip the coin to the other side, sometimes WQ tells you to keep those comments, as clever and witty as they might be, to yourself. Or you disagree with your mom about something and your IQ might be telling you all the reasons that you're right, she's wrong, and you should give her a piece of your mind. But if you flip it over, WQ tells you to treat her with respect and honor because she's your mom. Okay, one last example. Let's say you're around some younger kids. Now you know more because you're older. And your IQ might make it easy to correct them and point out everything wrong that they're saying or doing. But if you flip over the coin, WQ tells you to leverage the fact that you're older to show kindness and grace to people who don't know as much. Do you see how it works? WQ is always greater than IQ. Now, not to shame anyone, but you probably could name a few pros in a field that were really talented or really rich or really smart, but their story hasn't turned out so great. They made a poor decision. They said some unkind words or started to feel entitled and stopped putting in the work to stay pro. Maybe, if you're honest, you're a little worried that's becoming your story, or you're not sure how to stay focused on what's important in the future. If that's you, just be sure to hang around for this series. You know where the difference between IQ and WQ is often on full display? Social media. You've seen plenty of people say some very complicated, maybe sometimes even smart things, but in some very unwise ways. Ways that hurt and belittle others or cause division. Ways that don't seem to be curious about learning, growing, or hearing someone else's perspective. And that's pretty much the opposite of wisdom. Wisdom, on the other hand, knows that it doesn't know everything. Wisdom is humble and eager to learn more. Wisdom is curious about the struggles of others and what it's like on the other side of you. It's self-controlled and is willing to give up short-term pleasures today for long-term satisfaction tomorrow. Wisdom has experience and it's been pretty clutch again and again. Wisdom is pro. Here's what's really amazing about WQ. We can all grow it. Every single one of us. In fact, you have to if you're ever going to have it. And it's pretty much unlimited. People aren't born with an inability to be humble and teachable. That's a choice. Now, if there's a chance that wisdom really is the one thing that can make you better at everything, wouldn't it be amazing if we had direct access to one of the wisest people who's ever lived? The person who lots of people believe was the wisest person besides Jesus. But what if we actually do have access to wisdom from that person? We learn from the authors of the Bible that a man named Solomon is one of the wisest people to ever live. Not only that, but he intentionally recorded his most important observations on life in multiple documents, one of which is called Proverbs. It's important to note that Solomon was an incredibly successful person too. He was one of the wealthiest kings to ever live. In fact, his wealth back in the day would be about $2 trillion today. In short, anything that he wanted was his. In Proverbs, we get to learn from someone who is wise and whose wisdom led to having a lot of success in life. His story is far more complex than that, but it's a great place to start as we understand who we're learning from. Now, the best part of what he wrote is that Solomon tells us exactly where real wisdom begins, the starting point of where our story goes from amateur to pro. So here's Solomon's pro tip. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. Now, before your imagination takes you too far down the road of an angry God in the clouds with his arms folded and a deep scowl with lightning bolting and a hand that we're supposed to be terrified of, let's unpack that word, fear. Now, picture you just won dinner with your favorite celebrity in an Instagram giveaway. And for that hour or so, you're gonna be locked in, hanging on every word that they say, totally attentive, asking tons of questions, and you'll probably be a little nervous in their presence because of the weight of who they are. You're going to naturally honor them. It's not necessarily that you think they're going to hurt you, but their presence carries weight with you. In this way, you fear them. In context, that's what fear is like here in Proverbs. It means to be in awe of or amazed by God. It's to honor and respect God. It's to be so blown away by God's greatness and power and depth of love for you that the overwhelming experience of God's presence makes you want to keep yourself in check. And when you respect and honor or fear God, your trust in God grows. This mental, emotional, and spiritual shift is everything. Now think about it. If you're prideful or don't care about wisdom at all, when wisdom actually comes your way, do you think you'd be able to recognize it? Probably not. The first step towards wisdom is being humble enough and aware enough to first acknowledge that you don't know everything, that your gut isn't always right, that your feelings may sometimes lead you astray, and that you need help and guidance from the one who loves you and who created you. And that's where it starts, according to Solomon. It's the start of the journey to turning pro in the most important areas of your life. Here's the thing. Wisdom is all about perspective, and perspective is gained over time. That's why we might picture someone older when we think about someone who is wiser. We can go through life experiencing all sorts of things, but gaining wisdom from those experiences takes intentionality and work. It's not just more experiences that make you wiser. It's evaluated experiences. It's being curious about why you do what you do and what you could do differently next time. So when I was in high school, I was invited to this party from a few people who were like twice my age. And I really wanted to go, but I knew that I was not going to be allowed to go to this party. So what did I do? I lied because I really wanted to go to the party. And not only did I lie, I invited a few of my younger cousins with me to this party. So we get to the party, everything is amazing. We're having the best time of our lives, and then things get really rowdy in a way that a lot of people actually would have been pretty hurt. So wisdom would have actually kept me from being in that situation in the first place. And it definitely would have warned me that lying only complicates things further. But I feared what other people thought of me more than I feared or respected God's timeless wisdom. And by ignoring it, I made things harder for myself, for others, and I hurt my reputation with my parents. Up until that experience, I just always thought I could figure it out. I thought consequences didn't really apply to me and that I could be the exception to wisdom's rules. Now I understand that God's wisdom always points me to what's best for me. Now, to develop wisdom, I started taking steps to intentionally meet with people that are older and wiser than me. I started reading the Bible with the mindset that the words could guide me to what's best for me. I started paying attention to what God might be saying to me. And I started to acknowledge that God might actually know what's best for me. I finally was at the starting point of wisdom because I decided to see God with more respect and awe and fear. I really started to understand that wisdom is the one thing that can make you better at everything. When wisdom is applied to any area of life, it has the potential to make it better. It's not that your circumstances or situations suddenly change, but wisdom will help you make better choices, avoid some mistakes, and help you determine what is truly best. There are a couple of steps we can all take in connection to what we're talking about today. Even if you're still deciding on what you believe about God, I think that you'd agree that there is someone wiser out there that can help you know what to do next with what you know now. Often these people are at least one stage ahead of you. They've been where you want to go, and you can learn from their successes or mistakes. They might seem pro in some area of life that we desire to grow in. This doesn't mean that they're better or even smarter than us, but they do have more wisdom. Maybe it's a college student who can give you some perspective on what matters most in high school. It's a teacher or a coach who can help you focus on what will enable you to break through that next level in your sport. It's a counselor who can help you navigate what you're feeling and experiencing. It's a small group leader who can relate with the struggles and questions you have in your faith. Okay, so if we want to go pro in more areas of our lives, what can we do now? Here are a couple of ideas and steps that you can take right away. Okay, first, intentionally meeting with a trusted adult who has a little more wisdom than you in an area of life that's important to you. Better yet, meet with them regularly if you can. And go prepared with questions to ask so that you're ready to be a great listener. You might just wind up seeing God's wisdom through their advice. Next, look to the Bible to discover more of what God says is best. You can do this by trying to cultivate a habit of reading the Bible regularly. Proverbs, which this whole series is based on, is a great place to start. It's all about wisdom and it's 30 chapters long, so you could read one chapter a day for a month. Maybe grab a friend or some people in your small group you could do it with. At the end of the day, here's why all of this should be really encouraging, as overwhelming as it may seem for some of us. Just imagine if wisdom really is the one thing that can make you better at everything. Imagine if you could start taking steps now, daily, to grow in wisdom. This might mean that by taking this seriously in high school, you're setting yourself up for more of what's best in life in the future. When you head to groups, think about your response to this question. Who is the wisest person you know, and what makes them so wise?
I hope that you learned a lot through this episode and that you continue to invite wisdom in your day-to-day life. If you don't remember anything else, remember that you don't know everything. And the things that you think you know, you probably don't know. It's always good to ask for wisdom, and the Holy Spirit gives it to us freely. He loves it when we ask for wisdom. So my prayer is that you do not be afraid to ask for wisdom, and that you invite it and that you look for it from the Holy Spirit every single day, and as you continue to live and to go throughout your weeks and your months. I pray that you have a great week and that you look for ways to apply wisdom in your life. Go be great.